Fuel was leaking mid-flight. Then a 17-year-old student pilot took control. It was a bright Saturday morning when Flight 472, a small single-engine Cessna 172, prepared to take off from the regional airport. Among the passengers was not a seasoned pilot, but a 17-year-old student named Ethan Parker. Ethan had been training for just over 2 years and had already logged several solo flights under the careful supervision of his instructor. Despite his age, he had a natural affinity for aviation and an unshakable calm in stressful situations. The flight was supposed to be routine, a short trip to a nearby town for a sightseeing tour. Ethan's instructor, Captain Harris, had insisted he join the flight today to observe, hoping to give him some experience with real passengers in a controlled environment. The weather was perfect, clear skies, soft winds, and high visibility. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Shortly after takeoff, Ethan took his seat in the co-pilot's chair, hands folded in his lap. Captain Harris handled the controls as he briefed the passengers about safety procedures. Everything was smooth, and the hum of the engine gave a reassuring sense of normalcy. But aviation, as Ethan knew, was never predictable. About 20 minutes into the flight, a strange smell began to drift into the cabin. At first, it was subtle, almost imperceptible. But within moments, Captain Harris frowned, sniffing the air, and the metallic tang of fuel became unmistakable. "That's not right," he muttered, reaching for his headset to call ground control. A quick inspection revealed the source. A small but steady fuel leak was coming from the left wing. Panic threatened to rise in the cabin as passengers noticed the smell. Fuel was escaping into the air, and with every passing minute, the danger grew. Captain Harris's face was tense, but his voice remained calm. "Everyone, remain seated. We've got a situation, but I'll handle it," he assured. Ethan's heart raced, but he forced himself to remain composed. He had spent countless hours in simulators practicing emergencies, engine failures, electrical malfunctions, even forced landings. But a fuel leak at 3,000 feet was something entirely different. He could see the worry on his instructor's face. Something in him clicked. This was his moment to apply everything he had learned. "Captain Harris, I can help," Ethan said, voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through his veins. "I've practiced emergency landings multiple times. Maybe I can assist with controls while you manage communications and coordinate with the tower." The instructor hesitated for a moment, assessing the situation. The leak was worsening, and time was slipping away. Finally, he nodded. "All right, Ethan. Take the yoke. Follow my instructions to keep us steady. I'll handle the emergency landing clearance." Ethan's hands gripped the controls firmly. He felt the slight shudder of the aircraft beneath him, the subtle pull to the left caused by the uneven weight of leaking fuel. He remembered his training: keep calm, keep the plane level, and adjust gradually. Breathing in and out, he began making small corrections, letting the aircraft respond naturally. Meanwhile, Captain Harris spoke rapidly into his headset, explaining the emergency to air traffic control and requesting an immediate landing at the nearest airport. He kept an eye on the fuel gauge, which was steadily dropping. The situation was precarious. If the leak continued, the plane might not make it safely to the runway. Ethan focused on every detail. He adjusted throttle and rudder, keeping the plane steady. He monitored altitude, airspeed, and attitude, making precise, careful corrections. Each movement was deliberate, each decision informed by both instinct and his training. The passengers, initially tense and fearful, noticed the unusual calm in the young student. Some whispered among themselves, trying to hide their anxiety. As the airport came into view, the tower guided them to a quiet runway far from other aircraft. Captain Harris instructed Ethan on descent procedures. Ethan executed them flawlessly, reducing altitude steadily, making subtle turns to align the plane with the runway. His instructor's voice was calm and guiding, but Ethan could sense the weight of trust he had been given. At 500 feet, the fuel gauge showed dangerously low levels, but Ethan's hands remained steady. The runway grew larger with each passing second, and with a final check of airspeed and flaps, he prepared for landing. The aircraft touched down smoothly, tires rolling across the tarmac. A brief bump as the nose wheel settled, then the plane slowed to a stop. Relief washed over everyone. They had made it safely, thanks to a teenager's courage and composure under pressure. Emergency crews rushed over, checking the fuel leak and inspecting the aircraft. It was a small miracle that the leak had not ignited or worsened during the flight. Passengers clapped, some with tears in their eyes, as Ethan climbed out of the cockpit. A young pilot who had just faced a true test of skill and courage. Captain Harris placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You did exceptionally well, Ethan. I couldn't have asked for a better co-pilot. Today, you didn't just learn, you saved lives." The local news quickly picked up the story, and Ethan became a sensation in his town. Interviews, newspaper articles, and social media posts hailed his bravery and composure. But for Ethan, it wasn't about the fame. It was about proving to himself that training, preparation, and calm thinking could overcome even the most terrifying challenges. In the weeks that followed, Ethan returned to the skies, but with a new sense of confidence. He knew the responsibility that came with flying. The lives of passengers and crew depended on a pilot's skill and judgment. That Saturday, he had learned a lesson no textbook could ever teach. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. And so, the story of a 17-year-old student pilot who took control of a fuel-leaking aircraft mid-flight became an inspiration. It reminded everyone that sometimes, age does not determine capability. Knowledge, training, and presence of mind do. Ethan Parker continued his journey to becoming a professional pilot, but he never forgot that morning, the day when ordinary skills and extraordinary courage met in the sky, saving lives and proving that heroes can come in the most unexpected forms.